It works. One poll, the company talked to him. He had booked a meeting off the back of a poll with a company who's bought his technology off him. He's retired.
Hello and welcome. And today I'm joined by Dean Seddon. If you don't know Dean, he runs an amazing social marketing agency called Maverick. I was introduced to Dean 2.5 years ago, and a friend of mine, Gillian Schofield, said, "You need to connect with this guy and follow his stuff." So I did. 2.5 years later, we've finally got to the point that we're meeting in person. Dean spoke at one of our events recently. He offered to jump on a call for me. I had a question on LinkedIn, and he didn't just dismiss me. He didn't say yes or no. He said, "Let's have a Zoom." So instantly I sent him my Zoom link. 15 minutes later, he's answering my question. And there was no expectation from it. It wasn't like, this is going to cost you. So he's just a very helpful guy. And runs a business. This is the extent of my knowledge now. Runs a business. He's got a team of 30 that help people grow their business through social selling. Runs 150 in-person training events a year. That's 3 a week. It took me a few minutes to work that out when he said it to me. I'm like, how many is that a week? So 3 events a week around the country. He's recently come back from 4 weeks touring America, where he was speaking on LinkedIn and how to use it in business. This guy knows his stuff. Dean, hello and welcome.
Thank you, Jamie. That was a hell of an introduction. That's great.
Well, that's off the top of my head as well.
You can come everywhere I go and do that one. That's fantastic.
So you know your stuff, Dean. This is why I really wanted to have you on. I think a lot of people invest a lot of time in social media, and for the purpose of this, we're going to talk about LinkedIn. They spend a lot of time on LinkedIn for very little return. And some people have spent a lot of money as well with coaches, with experts, to not get any clients from it. And I think that from the conversations that we've had, they'll go and spend a load of money with somebody else and it not work, and then they come to you to find out how to do it properly.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, pretty much.
And it can be an expensive lesson. So this is a good opportunity for someone to learn without making that mistake and just come to the right person first time.
Yeah. I guess, and we talked about this, Jamie, it's like social media is free. Yeah. And this is the thing, right? It is free, but we often forget that, like, we are human beings, and these platforms that are free are designed to suck us into their world, do a lot of things, achieve nothing, and feel great about doing it. And I think, sometimes we confuse like social media with, it's just like fun. We just play around and it all comes together. And you can't do that if you're trying to make money out of it. You cannot just point and shoot and hope for the best.
Yeah. We wouldn't send emails out on a consistent basis and be happy with no results from it, would we?
No, but I guess the challenge is with emails, the buzz, if you think about email marketing in whatever form, and let's say your email is to get people to click a button and they buy something, and then you get the email notification that somebody's bought something. When it's email, we get the gratification, that kind of dopamine rush from ping, I just made a sale. Yeah. What social media companies have done is lowered the bar. So now you get that sale ping from a like. And so chemically, we substitute a sale for a like. And so we'll keep doing it because we get that reward. Yeah. But that reward means nothing. If you're not making money, it means nothing.
So I track my metrics on LinkedIn, and there are vanity metrics like reach. So my reach is the highest it's been in a particular week for the whole year right now. 2 weeks ago, it was the lowest it had been for months. Neither have swung my business in either direction. Like the low reach week had no impact on sales. The high reach week this week has not had an impact on sales. But what I wanted to pick your brains about today was, how do you turn connections into clients? And we at the start, we touched on this before we started, where if you're looking for, coming out the end of December, if you're looking for 10 new clients, most people do get a load of new connections, won't they? And then some of those I'll convert. And it's always connection. Advise people on what's you take people through.
So first I take them through the kind of, before I would say about this whole connection into clients, the first thing you have to do is separate your personal feelings from the platform from your business. And that, by that I mean disconnect from this content rat race. Yes, content's important, but if you've got 500 connections and you can't convert off 500 connections, no amount of increasing your content is going to fix that problem. So what we look at is, okay, how much time have you got for the platform? Honestly, right? How much time have you got? And then how can we do things? Because at the end of the day, right, you're in-person networking, Jamie. I'm in online networking. The same principles apply. You don't walk up to somebody at a networking event and shove your business card in the face and say, do you want to buy my stuff? You have a little bit of a chat, you build some relationships, and then, in the back of your head, you're thinking, this person make a great customer. But in person, you will screw it up if you just try and, try and just
Buy my
push a
shit.
conversion.
Yeah.
And so you've got that extreme of people on LinkedIn who are kind of ignoring basic human nature and just pitching. Then you've got the other extreme where it's the equivalence of somebody standing in a corner of the room and waiting for people to come to them. That's the content game. And the reality is you've got to kind of get out there, but in a social way. And most of the business will not be done in that room. It might be started, the conversations might be started, but you've got to get that conversation off LinkedIn or out of the networking meeting. You follow up and have a call or what have you. So when it comes to LinkedIn, it's like, how do we build those relationships in an organized way? And you've seen Goggle and what we're doing with Goggle to kind of help people structure that. So typically, for somebody to be open to a call, they've probably had 8 interactions with you on LinkedIn.
And what do you mean by an interaction?
It could be me having banter with you on a post. It could be me sending you something and saying, look at this. It's just those interactions on a kind of human level that then, I could go to you, Jamie, and say, I'd love to know what you're up to in Circle, because I think I could help you do this. You got 10, 15 minutes. It could be something as low key as that. And that's where you can develop it. But a lot of people struggle because they don't have a written down process or a plan even when it comes to LinkedIn.
Yeah. And I said exactly the same thing with networking. Just come off a call with somebody and I said, most people, when I ask them this question, they look at me like they've never heard it before. And I'll say, what can I do to help you? And they look, no one's ever asked me that before. And then they'll go, anyone. I'm looking for an introduction to anyone who needs help with LinkedIn, needs a coach, needs whatever. So let's go back to your example of someone that's got 500 connections then.
Yeah.
If they're looking for 10 clients, so this is a low bar because most people have got more than 500 connections.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for your next 10 clients, what's the process that people should be going through?
So whichever way you do this, whether you got Sales Navigator or you're just a free LinkedIn account, you should download your connection list and look through who's in that 500. So you can go to LinkedIn into the settings and you can download a spreadsheet of all of your connections and literally color code them of who in that list is actually useful to me from a business point of view. That's the first job. So you got 500. And then it's like, okay, if I need 8 touch points with these people, what are those 8 touch points going to be? Now, they can be likes and comments, but I prefer to actually engage with people in the messages. So no sales agenda. Just literally, I might see something on LinkedIn that I think might be helpful to them, and I'll send that to them. I might compliment them on something that they're doing, but with no agenda, just to build a relationship. And I have a literal, like in Goggle, put people through the process. And then at the end of it, I just ask them and say, I think I could help with this area specifically. Is it a priority? Is it worth a 15-minute chat? Dead simple.
Sounds too simple, Dean.
Well, it is, but it is simple, but here's, you're not going to have 100% success. That's the first thing, right? So all sales and marketing has a 95% failure rate, right? Get over that. If you're an architect, right, and you had a 95% failure rate, you'd never build a building ever again. But in sales and marketing, most of the time, you have to deal with rejection in some form. Trying to avoid rejection is a fool's game. So you have to just deal with that. But the process I teach people is quite soft. So if you're not a comfortable, if you're not like a die-hard salesperson, anybody can do it. It's based on what needs are. And the biggest thing people fall into the trap of is because when they post, they get that instant gratification of a like and dopamine rush. You don't get that until you've got a sale or a call doing the 7 steps, as we would call it. So you don't get the gratification until you get a call. Whereas if you post, dopamine rush. And so what happens is people go, yeah, I'm going to do this. Here's my plan. And then, I posted and 5 people have liked, 10 people have liked, I'll do another one. And what happens is without thought, we start doing this and then go, and we're completely doing something else within a few days. That's literally what happens.
So yours is about having a plan and sticking to it, a strategy, an action plan. Yeah. You mentioned a couple of times something called Goggle. Do you just want to explain what that is?
Yeah. So one of the biggest challenges with anything online is everything is sat in our short-term memory. So you'll have a good conversation with somebody on LinkedIn today, 3 days time, you won't even remember it. The LinkedIn inbox is shocking. Yeah. It's so easy to get stuff lost. So what we did is we developed Goggle CRM, and basically it's a very, very simple CRM. You can download your LinkedIn connections. You can put a workflow like what I've talked about. There's 8 touch points. You can write a workflow, put it in there. And then as you add your connections in, the ones that you choose to, you can add them in that workflow, and it will give you nudges and tasks to remind you to move those people along the journey. So it's not like big and complicated like something like Salesforce. It's like literally you got this task to do it on this day, and then you tick it off and a next task comes up for them, and you just move people through a process like a game. And you get that kind of little buzz from ticking all the boxes.
Yes. And I saw it demonstrated, and I was like, do you know what I like about this? The simplicity of it. It's specifically for nurturing people on LinkedIn. And it's a task list based. It's easy to use. I had it set up within 20 minutes, I think, if that. And the largest part of that was waiting for LinkedIn to send me my file to download.
Yeah.
And click to upload it. It was very easy. Then I just add people into that workflow, and the workflow, if you're listening or watching this, it's just a series of tasks, and it gives you a to-do list each day.
Yeah, so I've got my workflow, and one of the things in my workflow is to like and comment on specific people's posts. And I get a checklist each morning because they're the people I'm trying to build a relationship with. So I have to invest in those relationships if I want something out of them. So I'm investing to build that relationship. And I go in at 8 o'clock every morning, I think it is. I get my task list and I go through my task list, get it done. But the great bit is because on LinkedIn, you forget everything. Like literally, you can go back to the task list of the people and go, where am I up to? And I'll look in the inbox, look in here, and nothing gets forgotten.
So I was chatting with somebody earlier about ChatGPT. I said I'd love to see how somebody else uses it.
Mm-hmm.
What you're just explaining is you've just given somebody an insight into your world of how you nurture people from a cold connection into a potential client.
Yeah.
So just recap those steps again then. So if someone that you don't know very well, so let's say that we would, I've accepted your connection request. What happens next?
So my process is I would like and comment on one of your posts, and then I would send a connection request to you. Once you've accepted, I'd probably send you a quirky little thank you note, probably about my wild shirts, and
If you're
start.
if you're listening to this and you can't see it, Dean, just describe the shirt that you're wearing.
It is black with neon blue and pink, and it's motel signs.
It's got a Hawaiian feel to it, hasn't it? But with
Yeah.
different character features on it.
So yeah, so I would make a joke about that. I would try and keep it quite light because people are fed up of thanks for connecting, hope you are well. So I'll be a bit more interesting than that. Have a little bit of a conversation. If it goes somewhere there, great. If it doesn't, that's fine. No plan to sell at this point. And I probably won't try and even have a message conversation until I've done maybe 4 or 5 more things after that. Might be liking a post. It might be sending them a post that I've found that could be helpful for them. I might send them a poll and ask their opinion on stuff. I might engage on something their company page has done, but I'm just investing in what matters to them and showing interest in them without an agenda. And then before I go to outreach, I would go back through and go, where could I add value to this person? Do I still think I can add value from where I started? And if I do, I would send that kind of very low key, um, little message, which usually has one line of, I'm not sure if you're aware, I help people do X with Y. So mine's my new one for 2025 is I help people win clients on LinkedIn in 3 hours or less a week. I spotted that you're on here promoting whatever. I think I could help you do that. Are you free for 15 minutes and I can show you a bit more? That simple. And if they ignore me, that's cool. Yeah. I don't have to worry about, chasing, just following up, all that stuff. I'm not going to go down that route. They've
Got
had
it.
an invitation. They can come back
Yeah.
later.
Yeah. And there are plenty of people out there who do engage, who are
Yeah.
interested, who then book a call with you. And what's the offer then? So how do you help people?
Depends on where they're at in their LinkedIn journey. So if they're really brand new to LinkedIn, like there's a lot of people who've come on LinkedIn and they're still trying to figure out what they're actually selling. Like then, they're new to business and they're on that journey. It's like when you first start and it's like, I want to sell this, but when you get the rubber hits the road, you have to kind of adapt it, morph it, and tweak it. If they're already kind of beyond that point, we'd probably put them into what we call our social selling accelerator. And that's where we would support them in developing their business out on LinkedIn with systems, with coaching, and we support them for a year to build those systems. We generally tell people, because I'm crazy, you're going to build a system and you're going to build it and have it running within a month. And then you've got all year to perfect it, improve it, scale it, and do all of that stuff. But let's get the beta version out in a month. Because I've found that a lot of people will spend months and months tinkering with stuff, never really finishing anything. So we go, let's go with the kind of first version, refine it and go. So that's what we would do with like somebody where they're doing a lot of referrals, they're doing a lot of networking, but they want to do something online. That's what I'd say. If it was somebody who's literally just out of the belt, we'd probably say come to one of our workshops because they're just too early in the process.
Yeah.
What we don't want to do is take somebody on who's not sure what they're selling and they're paying us to help figure that out. And then they might take 3 to 6 months to figure out what they're actually selling. And we feel a little uncomfortable then because they paid us money to kind of figure out what their business is, which is not what we do. So that's kind of what we do. But it's kind of interesting because I would say, and this is where I promote you, Jamie, I would say one of the advantages of in-person networking or referrals is people will give you time. Like there's a courtesy there to hear you out and you don't have to talk in sound bites. And the challenge for most people, if they're used to a networking world, that's the top of the tree. right? In my book, referrals and meeting people face to face is top of the tree because you can't beat it. So when it comes to LinkedIn, one of the hardest things for people to get their head round is, oh my God, I have to communicate my value now in split seconds.
Yes.
And it's not, I've seen a lot of people who are very good at what they do struggle just because they can't get their head round how do I communicate that so quickly in a digital environment when they've had loads of success networking, in person referrals. It's just a tougher gig. But if you go on LinkedIn for any amount of time, there'll be enough people, gurus, telling you how easy it all comes. And it's not true. It's bollocks. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, you're right. Like I've yet to meet somebody that's cracked the code in any means, like whether it's email marketing or Facebook ads or funnels or social media of any kind, that doesn't have. There is no. You can't just do one thing and then you're inundated with the till ringing.
No, the platforms rug pull as well. So all the platforms do this. They will constantly change things to keep you chasing something. So like with impressions, right? It doesn't make any sense that your impressions should be harder to achieve in 2024 than it was in 2018. But literally, I could put a photo of my thumb on LinkedIn and get 30,000 people on it. Today, I have to crack William Shakespeare to get anything like that, right? Why would they do that? Because they get you addicted to producing content and then they make it harder and harder. So you work harder and harder and harder. And it's just a game. It really is a game. And if you want to win at the game, don't play it.
So could somebody do well? Let's go back to I've got 500 connections.
Yeah.
Without posting a lot of content, because content creation takes time for people when they're starting out. You're saying that they're better off engaging on other people's posts and then taking it into direct message conversations.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say no content because that can be a red flag as well. But my view is for most people, the more time you spend on content, probably the worse it's going to perform. So that post I did yesterday, that ADHD thing, right? Alls I did, I was scrolling Facebook last night, right? And it come up and I thought, that's me. So I just thought, that is me. So I stole the picture because it wasn't theirs anyway. It was just like circulating. And I went, this is me. And literally 80 odd people came to it and said, yeah, that's me too.
Yeah.
So you don't really have to overthink it or go too heavy. But if I was giving somebody a tip, do something light-hearted. We call it attract content once a week. Do something that's useful for your target audience. So practical, like Jamie, you might do. What are some of the best ways to approach somebody at a networking event if you're feeling nervous, and give somebody something practical to do? That kind of post would work brilliantly. And then the convert post, my favorite convert post is something I call Win on Wednesday. And every Wednesday, I take a quote from somebody I've worked with, slap it on a picture of myself, and then I tell people like what problem they had, what they were trying to fix it, how I helped them fix it, and what the result was. And I do that every week. And I get leads from that every week because people can relate to and say, oh, I've had that problem. I'm struggling with that. Yeah. So you can keep it very, very simple. Doesn't have to be rocket science.
A simple structure to what you're doing takes the thought out of it constantly, because I have themes and topics and I follow a loose process. It's not hard and fast, but I never struggle with ideas for content anymore. I used to. Now I don't. I've invested in some brand photography so that I've got some decent pictures of, well, as good as they can be of me anyway, to help with visibility. And then I enjoy commenting on certain people's posts so that I'll go to somebody else's stuff and add value. And you're right. Then it moves into, but that's exactly the same approach that I have with people with networking. I wouldn't stand next to you and just ignore you if you said something. And that's what most people do when they scroll past content. It's the digital version of just ignoring what you've said and you stood right next to me. I would reply in some way. I might reply publicly or I might reply privately one-to-one. And that's so we're teaching people the same stuff here. How do you then how in your meetings then, because it sounds really easy, doesn't it? And if someone's gone through this process, okay, I've got X number of connections, I'm going to pick these people, I'm going to comment on their stuff. How long do you comment before you then take it to a message?
It depends on the business. So I found that the more corporate you are, the longer winded the process is. So the bigger the company, basically, the bigger the sell, the longer you do it for. So when I'm doing it on my side, if I'm doing, say, small business owners, it might be a week or so, 8 touch points in say 2 weeks, 10 days. It sounds like a lot, but it's not when you go like and comment, connection request, I've just done some. Then the thank you note would follow. So half of them are pretty much done, or three out of 8 are done within a day. So it's then about pacing the others out. If I was doing a larger business, I might spread that out over a month, so it might be a bit longer. But yeah, that's really all it is. Now, sometimes I'll do like extra things like voice notes or looms, where I think I can add a lot more value. But it's just about following a process. And as you go through a process, you go, yeah, that bit doesn't work. I need to fix that bit. And this is the thing that people fall at, is if you don't have a process, you don't know what's broken. But as soon as you put a process in place, you go, it's falling over somewhere. And then you have the insight to go, oh, I have to change this bit. I have to tweak that bit. And 9 times out of 10, people say, LinkedIn's not working for me. I will tell you, you're spending all your time, atypically, you're spending all your time creating content and hoping people will come to you, sat in the corner of the room, hoping people will wander over to you, or you have no process, no written down process with that daily actions that you just tick off.
Okay.
That's my philosophy.
Let's capture people's attention a little bit now. So that's how to do it.
Yeah.
Why should someone do it? Give me some examples of some people who you've worked with and what results they've had.
Okay. So there's a guy called Ivan, and he had this brilliant idea and built this tech himself as a solopreneur. So he didn't have a lot of money. He built it himself, where you would basically put health and safety, like when you buy a new house and there's a lot of like remedial work. When you buy a new house, there's cracks and all this kind of stuff. What typically happens is they get the contractors to go back. So Ivan created this app whereby if there was lots of remedial work on sites, they could ping TikTok style training videos and force their staff to watch the training videos to avoid those common problems with finishing new build houses. So he started on LinkedIn and he was really struggling, and he used one of the polls, right? So just a poll as part of his strategy, his plan, he used a poll. He's retired because of the deals he's done. Like literally, he's changed his life. He sent me a voice note a couple of weeks ago and he said, it works. One poll, the company talked to him. He had booked a meeting off the back of a poll with a company who's bought his technology off him. He's retired. So he's like, I only want 1 or 2 clients a year. One client just went, well, have that, please. Don't sell it to anybody else.
Wow.
But
Wow.
we've got a guy called Jay from California, video guy, and he does explainer videos. And he was just doing the thank you notes, and he did the thank you note draft out of the plan. And somebody came to him, and within like 3 days, he'd got a £10,000 video project. So there's that. But then there's also the boring stuff of people just going through and doing their calls every week. India on our team, she's the best at it. She's better than me. And she books 15 calls a week. She just goes at it all week. She loves it. So
it's not that you teach people the secret formula to content creation that people then just click and sign up for stuff. There's in my experience, everything that we do leads to one-on-one meetings, whether that's a Zoom call, a phone call, or a face-to-face. So we do some marketing activity that leads to a meeting, and
Yeah.
then we get the opportunity to present our offer to people.
Yeah. Most people will say to me, if I get a meeting with a person, I'm pretty good at explaining what we do and they see it. The hard bit is getting that conversation. So, you know, most people are not trying to go, can I go viral and get people to click and give me $197? Most people are not trying to do that, but they're taking advice from people who basically are doing that. And their advice won't work. There's a reason why most of those people are solopreneurs still, despite having 180,000 followers. They still need your $197 for their course.
Yeah. So tell me about the one-day training that you run, because they're in person, aren't they?
Yeah. So, me being slightly insane, I was like, I want to do these everywhere. So, since 2018, we've been building up and building up from one a week to three a week. And we do them in different cities. And depending on what the topic is, so we'll range from personal branding, social selling, content. We'll do the whole spectrum. Um, and they're 2.5 hours to up to half a day. And it's like, you can do this. And then we do experiments in the room. So we'll say, let's make a post now and do it now. So that people learn, like, actually, it doesn't have to be perfect. And actually, perfect comes along the journey, not on day one. So we'll do a lot of that practical stuff. I think there's about 2,500 people come to our workshops a year. So it's crazy. But I love it. I know this sounds strange because I'm like, yeah, I teach people how to get clients online, but I love doing it in person.
Yeah, the irony there.
I think you learn better in person. I think you learn way better than sat watching a video. I found I guess it's a bit different if you're doing networking online because you're meeting people individually. But if I was asked to sit, I've done Zoom training sessions, like 2 hour Zoom training sessions, and it's like, for a trainer, it's not good because the interact. When you're speaking and you can look in people's eyes and you can tell whether they're interested or not. And if they're confused, they pull faces, and you can adapt. You can't do that same thing online when you're training, at least. So I've always found I've just enjoyed the kind of interaction more, and I'm a little bit crazy in person. So when I'm in front of a crowd, I'm a little bit crazy and go, no, we're going to do it now. Let's get some leads now. And I'll take somebody's account and go, right, I'm going to generate leads on your account now. And they're looking at me terrified. And I'm like, I'm just going to chat to people. Um, and suddenly that gives people more confidence because they're seeing it happening in real time.
Yeah. It's not theory, it's the application of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's
It's one way.
what's the biggest mistake that you see people making then on LinkedIn?
Content first. Content first. Well, I'll give you a couple. So if you're a small business owner or you're one person on LinkedIn, you've got a finite amount of time. And like I said earlier, everything's sound bites because it's all short-term memory stuff. So if you want to do it efficiently, you've got to kind of knock out as many variables as possible. So one of the biggest things there is, what am I selling and to who? And most businesses, they can sell the same thing three or four different people. Yeah, I can sell LinkedIn training to a ton
Yeah.
of different people, different industries. The problem is, for me to get an efficient process that works, if I'm trying to sell to four different decision makers or four different types of businesses with four different sets of challenges that are not all similar, the risk is that my messaging, I have to kind of figure out, what do I say to this person versus this person. So the big one is, um, what am I selling and to who? Because that gives you clarity on the sound bites you need, the messaging, how your profile's laid out. Then not having a system, process, literally a written down process that you're going to follow and a way to track it. And then the final one is that system is too reliant on an algorithm. That's my, I know you asked for one there, but that's it basically.
Okay, so too much time on content, lack of a plan are two of the biggest mistakes. Your plan is not complicated, is it? It's just have a repeatable set of steps that you go through with person after person after person.
Yeah.
And like you say, if once you've got that process documented, then you can work out where it's falling down. It might be that you get loads of connections and the initial messages are fine. At the point that you're asking people for a meeting, it might not work. Or it might be that you're getting loads of meetings with people and then you're just not converting people. Well, that's not the social media. That's just the sales process then, isn't it?
Yeah. It could be the sales, but it could also be like, I've made this mistake early on of people invite you to a virtual coffee, right? That's not the same as asking for a meeting. And so if you go, oh, let's just have a virtual coffee, that is a genuine networking attempt. And that might be a good first meeting,
Yeah.
but you want people to agree to come to a meeting to find out about what you've got to offer. So that would be if you did the virtual coffee thing, I would always be saying the second meeting, then you should say, I think I can help you. And this is how you got 15 minutes. Because otherwise the conversion problem is they're coming for a social thing and you're coming with your sales brain on and it's a disconnect.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I've just had someone today, they sent me a connection request and straight away pitched me. And I've just got a standard reply. Sorry, connect and pitch doesn't work for me, and then they don't reply again.
well, I've got some LinkedIn trainers who pitch me. It's like, what? Your automation's out of control.
So you've told us about the one-day events. Where do they
Yeah.
run, and how much are they?
They run in every city in the UK, but predominantly London, Manchester, Birmingham, and Bristol. They're the main cities we do them in, but we do other cities as well. That's the UK events. We do them in Dubai, Miami, Dallas, and some other places. And depending on how early you book, anywhere from 125 quid to if you wanted one-to-one coaching afterwards as well, it's like 495 quid. So we'll give you like full support afterwards to kind of build that plan.
So Dean, you've got a podcast as well. What's that called?
Yeah. It's called Mindset, Marketing and Money. And it's a little bit broader than kind of LinkedIn, but it's for business owners and people wanting to grow. And we give them, you'll know this, a lot of the holdups in growing a business are actually in your head and the way you see the world. Then it's the marketing, and then it's how do you make the money from the marketing. So that's what we talk about in the podcast. And you're coming on, but I have a bit of a crazy format, so I don't know whether you're ready for this, Jamie.
Well, I've scanned through the instructions. I need to have a proper read of it now that I've got this out of the way. Okay, where can people find is it a video podcast or audio or both?
It's mainly audio. We're doing some video sessions as well. So anybody will come on video, we'll do there. So it's on Spotify, but the videos are all on YouTube, and you can just search it, Mindset, Marketing and Money, and the video ones go up there too.
Okay. Well, I'll drop your website link into the show notes for anybody that wants to go away and find out about your stuff. And you've got a book as well. What's the book? We haven't touched on that yet.
Oh, it seems like ages since I promoted the book, but it was only the beginning of the year. So I published a book in February, and it was basically some of my learnings from building a business from scratch, the mistakes I'd made, but quite practical. So there's a lot about social media in there, how I built on social media, but it's very much like a manual rather than, oh, here's my life story. It's like a manual. You could do this, you could do this, you could do this. So it's full of ideas. And I really enjoyed writing it, actually. It was good fun to kind of distill your thoughts, because sometimes you don't really think about all the stuff you know until you write a book and go, what the hell do I actually know?
So is it just that one? Have you stopped now, or is there more in the pipeline?
Well, the publisher, I'm waiting to hear back whether the publisher, because they did a deal with me to do this one. So they've got the option on the second one, and we've sold out of the book at the moment. So I don't know whether they're going to do another run of the book and kind of milk the first book first, or we're going to do another one. So I have to find that out in January.
Okay. Well, I feel quite lucky that I've got a copy of it then if it's sold out.
Yeah, you can't buy it in the UK now, apparently.
Oh, really?
Gone.
Oh, well, I'll
Yeah.
stop promoting it then because I've been telling people they can buy it on
No,
Amazon.
oh, no, there's an audio book. There's an
Oh,
audio book. There's Kindle, but yeah, you can't buy the actual book.
oh, that's how to create demand, isn't it?
Mm.
Oh, you said that your book would go up in value when I ordered a copy. So is this how you're
Yeah.
manufacturing that? Okay.
Yeah, it's what is it? Scarcity. Keep it low so that everybody. It's like a rare, limited edition.
I love it. Okay. What's the biggest mistake that you've ever made on LinkedIn?
This is quite embarrassing, but I'll tell you. So I'm a kind of pragmatist when it comes to LinkedIn. So it's eat the meat and leave the bones of what works, what doesn't. But early on, I got into automation, and this is very early on, like before AI. So like we're talking 2016, 2017. I got into automation on LinkedIn back then. And I had an automation tool that would allow me to comment on people's posts, right? So you'd put in the variables of what you wanted to say and literally let it loose. Yeah. And I did this. And one of my go tos was great post. Thanks for sharing. Yeah. That old chestnut of LinkedIn. And I would hammer these out every day. And somebody posted on LinkedIn, bear in mind, this is 2016, 2017, when LinkedIn wasn't that personal. Somebody had posted about the death of their son.
Oh, great post. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the risk of automation, isn't it?
Yeah. It can, there's lots of ways automation can help you, but there's some things like outreach and commenting automation is dangerous.
Okay. The last question I've got for you, and then we'll wrap up.
Killed it there, didn't I?
You
Killed it with that one.
did. I need to lighten the mood a little bit now. Um, what are you using AI for? So there's a plethora of AI tools around,
Mhm.
and for me, the bit that fascinates me is how people are using it and what for.
So I am using ideogram to make custom images. All my neon graphics,
I wondered that
ideogram
the
makes
other day.
them. So that's the first one. I use ChatGPT to refine my ideas for content. Um, I always edit and I always make sure it's something I want to say. I use HeyGen, and it has an AI avatar of me, and we'll use that sometimes when I'm making videos to kind of augment where I can't get my lines right. Um, so they're the main three that I use. So it's Ideogram, ChatGPT, and HeyGen.
Right. I saw one of you meeting a president the other day.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, that was another one. That's another AI, but I don't pay for that one. That is, I'll have to send you the link because it's
Yeah,
a
it was the
weird name.
Chinese one, I
Hey,
think, wasn't it?
hey Lou. And basically, you can put pictures of yourself or anybody in there and then tell it to animate those two pictures together. So I had Joe Biden looking really angry and me stood at the side of him, and AI animated it together that I grabbed him and gently escorted him away from the stage.
But it stands out in my mind.
Mm.
So sometimes it's not we can share the best tips and advice, and it gets tumbleweed, and we'll put something of comedy value that's memorable.
And that's what I would call an attract post. It's something so simple that anybody can engage with. It's something fun or enjoyable. It's like it's dead easy.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So there's some good tools there. I've used the ideogram one recently. A friend of mine, Vic, recommended it to me, and I'm interested in not just you should use ChatGPT because that means nothing. But when you said that you're using that to create some of your images, now I'm going to go back and look at some of the images that you've got on your feed, and then right, okay, so that's how we create them. It's understanding what people are doing. Right. I've loved chatting with you. I could chat all day about this stuff because there is some very useful content in there for people. And one of the things that you said to me is you're happy to give away all your expertise.
Mm.
Why is
Yeah,
that?
because knowledge is cheap. It's everywhere. It's free. It's everywhere. I would rather people know from me, and when they struggle to implement knowledge, which is where the big problem is, that's where I add value. Everything that I know is probably on the internet somewhere.
Yeah.
So I'd rather people find it from me than go find it from somebody else.
And then helping them with the implementation.
Yeah. Look at Tony Robbins, right? Tony Robbins got 1,000,000 books, right? You could read all of his books and you would never need to go to any of his events. You'd never need coaching ever again. So why do people pay to go and see him? Why do people pay for his associates on coaching? It's because the implementation is hard. The concepts, the ideas, the principles, they're the easy bit, but living them out and making them work, that's the tricky bit.
And there's a lesson for everyone to learn in that. Thank you very much, Dean.
Just get it all out there.
Give a shout out to your website for me.
My personal website is deanseddon.io. So yeah, please go have a look. I've got loads of blogs on there and some random rants.
Okay, I love it. Thank you for your time. Looking forward to being on your show.
Thanks, Jamie.